Sometimes the winning move is not a check, not a capture, and not even a direct threat. You simply place a piece in the way and cut the connection between two defending pieces. That tactic is called interference. Today, I have got 6 positions where one move blocks the defense, breaks the coordination, and the whole position collapse. Position 1 is Adolf Fink versus Alexander Alekhine from Pasadena 1932. Adolf was an American player, competed in strong events, and got chances against some of the best players of his time. Alekhine was the fourth world champion and is remembered as one of the most dangerous attacking players in the chess history. Pause this video here. It's black to play. Find the move that interference with white's defense and turns the position into a winning attack. Black played bishop b5, simply tagging the queen and attacking the bishop at the same time. And if you have already realized, this bishop is pinned to the king. And here, this bishop can be captured with two different things. One is queen, other one is bishop. But still, after this move, white simply resigned the game. If we capture with a pawn, that simple checkmate in one, game over. That's it. Nothing left. So that means he cannot take with the pawn. And if he decided to take with the queen because he has to capture it, then he simply lost a queen. Rook takes b5 and that's it. And now he can't even take the rook back because if he takes, there's a checkmate coming on e2. So the only surviving move here is knight e3. Yes, he can play this and he can play the game for few more moves. But eventually, white is gonna lose. So that is why after bishop b5, he simply resigned the game. Now, let's go to the next one. Hello everyone, I'm Aniket, an Arena International Master, and this is Chess Tactics Episode 10. This series is based on practical patterns that win games, not fancy puzzles. Today's pattern is interference. Interference happens when you place a piece on a square that blocks the coordination of the opponent's pieces. You're not just attacking, you are disconnecting defenders. One piece can no longer help the other. Let's understand the idea deeply with a simple example. So here we got this position where black is clearly winning and it's just checkmate in few moves. And it looks like black can play queen h1, but unfortunately this queen will block on g1. Because king can't move anywhere, you need to somehow do something so that queen cannot go back. And here, black can simply play rook d4. And again the same idea. This rook can be captured with two different things, with a pawn and with a queen. Point is, he cannot take with a pawn because if you try to take with a pawn, that's simple checkmate in one thanks to the pawn on d3 and g3. So king is stuck and game over. So that means this rook cannot be captured with a pawn. And now you might be thinking, okay, why not queen? Point is, if white decide to take the rook with the queen, with queen takes d4, here, black can simply take the queen, and after pawn takes, that is still a checkmate on h1. White is having 4 pieces, and black just checkmate with only rook. Game over. So when you're solving these positions, do not only ask, what can I attack, also ask, what can I block. Subscribe if you want more practical chess patterns like this. Now, let's go to position 2. Position 2 is Vasily Smyslov versus Alexander Tolush from Moscow 1961. Smyslov was the 7th world champion and is remembered for his smooth positional style, clean technique, and endgame mastery. Tolush was known for sharp, aggressive chess and being one of the most dangerous attacking players in Soviet chess. This is a very clean interference idea. The key is not just to attack, but to cut off one defender from another. Pause the video, it's fight to play, find the move that blocks black's defensive coordination and wins by force. White played bishop b8. That's it. Black simply resigned the game. Point is, this bishop cannot be captured because it's defended twice and attacked twice. Black needs 3 attackers to defend this, which is not possible. White is threatening to win the rook on a8. That's a simple threat, and there is no good way to save the rook in just one move. All the black pieces are useless here, and in this position, he has to give up a rook for a bishop with rook takes b8. And after queen takes, and the rook takes, white will get this position, which is completely winning for white. 2 rooks versus 1 rook, 1 bishop. And this is what Alexander can see. And that is why after bishop b8, he simply resigned the game. Now, let's go to the next one. Position 3 is Rellstab versus Najdorf from Bled 1950. Rellstab was one of the Germany's strongest players after World War II and represented his country in major international competitions for many years. Najdorf become one of the most influential players in chess history, and his name still lives on through the Najdorf variation, one of the most famous openings ever. In interference tactics, you should always ask which defender is doing too much and can I block its path? Pause the video, black to play, find the move that interferes with white defense and creates a chance for black to win the game. White's last move was a blunder. Najdorf played bishop to d4. Brilliant move. And again the same idea. This bishop can be captured with three different things. Bishop, rook and queen. But still, white cannot capture this bishop with a single thing. The idea is if white decided to take a black's queen with queen takes d8. This move lost to bishop takes e3 check. It's a check, so white has to react to the check. And after king f1, he's simply gonna take the queen back and enjoy his extra bishop and black is completely winning. So that is why after bishop d4, he decided to capture the d4 with a rook. And that move also cannot save white. The reason is knight can simply take the rook back and he played knight takes d4. The idea is if queen will take on d8, this time you do not need to take it back with the rook. You can play knight takes e2 check. It's a check, so king has to move, and after king f2, you will simply win the queen back. And again, you got this position where you have an extra rook completely winning. So that is why he again cannot take the queen. So he tried to complex the game and played bishop to b5, just hoping to do something. But unfortunately, in this position, each and every single move is losing. And here, black continued the game with rook takes e1 check. And after bishop takes, he simply take the queen as well. And after bishop takes, he played rook to d8. And if you see, this bishop is attacked. And whenever he will decide to move this bishop, any safe square on the board, there's a knight e2 check. And that's it. It's a check, king moves, he wins the other bishop. We will get this position where black is having an extra rook. Obviously, white can clearly see that, and that is why after rook d8, white simply resigned the game. Now, let's go to the next one. If you're serious about improving and want structured training instead of random puzzles, I work with students personally. The link to train with me is in description. Now, let's continue. Position 4, Viswanathan Anand versus Levon Aronian from Linares 2008. Anand was the 15th world champion and is remembered for his speed, clarity, and incredible tactical accuracy. Aronian spent many years among the world's best players and became famous for his creativity, dynamic play, and original ideas. This one is a modern example, and the interference is very practical. Not flashy at the first glance, but extremely powerful once you see what gets cut off. Pause the video here, black to play, find the move that blocks a key defensive line and gives black the advantage. If you see in this position, white king is not safe. Even though white is having an extra material, but chess is all about king. And this is what Aronian saw and played rook to e3, simply moving the rook back, attacking the queen and knight at the same time. And obviously, this rook can be captured with only one thing, which is a pawn. Because if queen try to take the rook, the pawn will capture and white doesn't want to lose a queen for no good reason. Anand decided to take the rook and he played f takes e3 and now Aronian continued the game with queen takes f3 and threatening a checkmate on g2 at the same time. Anand has to save the checkmate and Anand played queen c2 hoping to save the position somehow, but Aronian played f takes g3 and after h takes g3 he played queen to g3 check, and if you see both the bishops and the queen is attacking the white king and there's no good way to save the king, but still we should continue the game with king h1 and hoping to save the king. Again, there are so many moves which are completely winning for black, but Aronian played crushing idea which after Vichy resigned the game, and the move was bishop to f5, distracting the queen. And if queen takes the bishop, that's a simple checkmate in one and the game is over. And if Vichy don't capture it and it try to move the queen anywhere, it doesn't matter, e2, that move will lose bishop e4, and that's it. With the power of bishop pair and the queen, the king is just stuck in the corner, and here which he has to play queen g2, and then after queen takes, that will simply lead to checkmate. That is why after bishop f5, Vichy simply resigned the game. Now let's go to the next one. Position 5 is Hikaru Nakamura versus Alexander Beliavsky from HB Global CC 2005. Nakamura became one of the strongest speed chess players ever and built a reputation for tactical alertness and a fighting spirit. Beliavsky was one of the top Soviet and world players for many years, and one of the greatest achievements was winning the Soviet championship 4 times. This is the kind of position where direct moves may not work immediately. But one interference move changes everything. Pause the video here. It's black to play. Find the best move. Beliavsky played e4. Such a quiet move, and you might be thinking, how is that even winning? It blocked the queen, protect the knight. That's it. And the problem is, this knight is protecting the rook at the same time. And there's no way to save the knight. And if white decided to play knight g3, the idea is white is attacking on the queen. And it looks like whenever the queen will move, we'll simply move the rook and everything is fine. This move lost queen to f3. Problem is, after queen f3, the rook is trapped. There's no way for the white to move the rook anywhere which is safe. And this is what Hikaru can clearly see. And that is why after e4, Hikaru simply resigned the game. Now, let's go to the next one. Position 6 is Vassily Ivanchuk versus Victor from 1988. Ivanchuk is remembered as one of the most gifted and imaginative players in chess history. A player capable of producing completely unexpected ideas against anyone. Victor became well known for his creative style and for his contributions as a respected chess author and an opening expert. For the last one, think carefully about which line or square is holding a defense together. Once that connection is blocked, the tactic becomes crystal clear. Pause the video here and find the best move for white. Wesley saw one thing that this queen is protecting the rook on a3, and Wesley decided to break that connection. And the way to break that connection is he played knight c5. That's it. The connection got broken. And yes, it looks like that square on c5 is protected. Yes, but who cares? Point is, after pawn takes, you can simply win the rook, and that's it. And if you decided to take on d4 as well, yeah, sure. You can even take on f8, and after knight takes, you will get this position, which is two minor pieces versus one minor piece and rook, which is completely winning for white. And that is what Victor can clearly see. That is why after knight c5, Victor simply resigned the game. So that's interference. The point is to block coordination. One defender gets cut off, one line gets closed, and suddenly the whole position falls apart. Three things to look for. First, a defender that is protecting from far away, like a rook, queen, or a bishop. Second, key file, rank, or diagonal that can be blocked. Third, a target that becomes weak the moment that line is interrupted. This is one of those patterns that show up everywhere in attacking positions, in endgames, or in practical games where the defense looks solid until one blocking move destroys everything. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe for more practical tactics and comment which position was the hardest and tell me what move you found before I revealed it. I will see you in the next one.